Shalom, and welcome to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. This is a recording of a Shabbat teaching with TBA Rabbinic Intern, Aviva Frank.
So we're going to dedicate our learning tonight. It'll be a short learning, but a very meaningful learning to some important individuals. And we're going to hear a little bit more about them.
I am here to honor my father, Bob Rosen, who left us earlier this week. He was a great father to four of us children, myself, Phyllis, James, and Daniel. He was a true mensch and a great father. I remember I worked for him when I was a teenager, and before that, when I had jobs, usually at closing time, we closed and people left. But with my father, people would come to the door and he'd open it up and let them in one at a time. And soon we had a full house again. And that was kind of how he was. He took care of his family, took care of his patients. I'm going to miss him terribly.
May his memory be for a blessing, and also Irv Steinberg's, may your dad's memory also be for a blessing. And we dedicate this learning that their soul should have an aliyah. So at Mincha and Sudat Shlishit on Shabbos afternoon, we have a trailer or a coming attraction of next week's Torah portion. So though we're still in Shabbat, we don't look at the Torah portion we read this morning. We're already looking ahead. It's always beautiful to think about what is in the future. Even when we were at Purim, people were already talking about from holiday of Hag Purim about Pesach. We're always looking forward to the next opportunity to gather together in community and to know that we're not alone. So this is for next week's Torah portion and also the Haftorah for next week and also a little bonus. And it's about divine inspiration. So next week, we learn about how Bezalel is selected to help make the Mishkan. And there's something amazing that happens is God singles out Bezalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, from the tribe of Judea. And when we think about the tribes of the brothers, different tribes have different roles. And we're going to see what tribe is Moses and Miriam and Aaron from. The tribe of? I heard over here. Levi, right? And here we have Judah. So we sit from so we have different tribes represented in different ways. Does anyone know Joshua? He's also very important. Moses' apprentice. What tribe he's from? He's from Ephraim, which is connected to Yosef. So we see that different brothers are represented that are from the different sisters, which is really important as we're thinking about the family connection, how everyone's represented. And if we're looking at the first section here on Shemot, from chapter 35, verse 30 to 35, we look at 31. God endowed Bezalel with a divine spirit, with wisdom, insight, and divine inspiration, the talent for all types of craftsmanship. Now, I think this is pretty amazing because Bezalel was selected to be the artist of the Mishkan, and God doesn't just give him the capacity to be good with his hands, not just with craftsmanship, but also with these additional layers of inspiration, of spirit, and wisdom. And I think that's incredible because when we think of an artist, we can sometimes downplay the skill set and say, oh, they're just good with their hands. But there's something here that they're calling down a divine connection. And we see this with Bezalel, who is the artist of the Mishkan. And if someone can read for me the Hebrew possibly, I just want to see how it's said in the Hebrew. Someone want to read the Hebrew on verse 31. I'm going to come over here. It's below it.
Oh, yeah, right here. Vaymalei oto ruach Elokim b'chokhmah b'tvuna uvdat uvchol melacha.
So you might have heard some words that you recognize. We have chokhmah, which is wisdom that I had just spoke about in the English, but there's another word here, ruach. Does anyone know what ruach means? Spirit, right? So that's the divine spirit. But what else does ruach mean? We had a lot of it today and last night. Wind, right? So it's kind of like, oh, God's like, hey, I'm going to wink at you. Here's some ruach, here's some wind, some spirit. This divine inspiration, this divine wisdom of how to be an artist. And so I just want to ask, is anyone here an artist? Either as a hobby, as a talent, or even as a profession?
I do art.
You do art? Yeah. Amazing. Do you feel often like you have this creative force that comes through you when you want to do art?
Yes, I do. Well, I'm learning how to do jewelry making. So basically when I do jewelry making, I always have this, like, it's like a passion for me. Because like what I do is like, I'm trying to, like, if I want to make a fundraiser for the war that's going on in Iran, I'm thinking of making like some jewelry that has the Israeli like one of these charms, the Israeli charm or something like that.
Kol hakavod. So this is the passion that comes through with art and the connection. And so I think it's so beautiful to think about that, is that when artists make art, they're calling down chachma and wisdom, and they're also connecting to God. And it's expression of their connection to God and the divine and the Torah. Because we often might think there's only one way to connect to God, through prayer. Maybe we think there's another way through Torah study, but we're seeing here that also through art is a way to connect to the divine. Now, in many cultures and in many religions, when it comes to art, people often talk about bringing down an idea, or that idea was like pulling on their hair or tugging on their foot or pulling on the side of their clothing or a muse. And so we can see that this idea of calling something down, of God giving us an idea, is found throughout the world. Now, I want us to turn, for the sake of time, to the next section on the next page. It's from 1 Kings, and this is the Haftorah for next week. And so the Haftorah always complements the Torah portion, and this is about the building of the Beit HaMikdash, or the temple in Jerusalem. And it's also about an artist and what the artist makes for the temple. Now, if we just scan this really quick, we're going to see there's beautiful information here, about sprinkling bowls. This is Shabbos of the red heifer, so there's connection there. We have about these columns and the pomegranates. We're just scanning it. We're seeing, okay, there's this basin for washing, and underneath it are 12 oxen. We're reading all these different things, but do we see anything here about divine inspiration or chokhmah or any kind of ruach? And it seems to be missing in the Haftorah. So does this mean that Bezalel was gifted this opportunity to build the Mishkan, but wasn't for the temple? But we just talked about that many artists feel like they have this, they're calling down an idea that's larger than themselves. So if we didn't have an additional source of 2 Chronicles, we might think, okay, all right, so just the Mishkan, but not for the temple. But something amazing happens in the last source that's on here in 2 Chronicles. We start seeing here once again about how God is blessing and giving forth this divine wisdom to the artist, and about how artists connect to the divine in a way that is just as important as if we're praying, just as important as Torah study, just as important to come to temple. So I just want to leave us on this note that there's many, many ways to connect to the divine, many ways to build sanctuaries or gathering places that bring in God and something larger than ourselves, and many different ways to come together as a community. We're blessed to always be surrounded by our loved ones, always be surrounded by art and wisdom and some ruach, some spirit.
You've been listening to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. If you enjoy these podcasts, we invite you to write a review on the Apple Podcast website or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information on Temple Beth Am, Los Angeles, please visit www.tbala.org.